In the vast emptiness of the Pacific Ocean lies one of the most mysterious places on Earth, Easter Island, or Rapa Nui as its people call it. Thousands of kilometers away from the nearest land, this small island is a lonely dot surrounded by endless waves. Yet upon its shores stand colossal stone figures, the moai, silent guardians that have puzzled explorers, historians, and travelers for centuries. The world first learned of Easter Island on Easter Sunday, 1722, when Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen sighted it during his voyage. As his men stepped onto the island, they were astonished to see giant statues gazing silently across the land. How could such an isolated place with such limited resources give rise to monuments so massive and impressive? The mystery was born. The island's geography made the question even more fascinating. With only a few volcanic craters, little fertile soil, and scarce forests, Easter Island seemed an unlikely candidate for such ambitious works of art and engineering. And yet, scattered across the island were nearly 900 moai statues, each carved with incredible skill and patience. The early European explorers described the Rapa Nui people with both curiosity and misunderstanding. They could not imagine how a small population could build and move such massive figures, some over 30 feet tall. To them, it seemed like an impossible achievement, something almost supernatural. But for the Rapa Nui themselves, the moai were more than stone. They were symbols of ancestors, protectors of villages, and embodiments of spiritual power. Oral traditions spoke of chiefs and leaders whose memory was immortalized in stone, standing watch over the living. The mystery of Easter Island only deepened as centuries passed. Were the moai signs of a once great civilization now lost to time? Or did they represent something even more profound? A people's determination to leave a lasting mark on the world despite living in one of the most isolated corners of the earth. Whatever the answer, the moai continue to stand in silence, challenging us to uncover their secrets and to wonder about the civilization that created them. The story of Easter Island cannot be told without the story of its people, the Rapa Nui. Descended from Polynesian voyagers, they sailed across the vast Pacific in wooden canoes, guided only by the stars, ocean currents, and their unshakable courage. When they arrived at Rapa Nui, they found an island small in size, yet full of promise. Here, they built a society that was both resilient and creative. The Rapa Nui adapted to limited resources, farming on rocky soil using clever techniques such as stone gardens to trap moisture. Sweet potatoes, taro, and chickens became staples of their diet, and fishing supplied what the land could not provide. Despite the island's isolation, the people developed a complex culture rich with traditions, songs, and legends passed down through generations. At the center of their world was the concept of mana, a spiritual energy believed to flow through chiefs, priests, and ancestors. The moai statues were not simply works of stone, they were embodiments of this mana. Each statue represented a revered ancestor whose presence continued to protect and bless the living community. The construction of the moai was not the work of a few, but of entire clans. Families and villages united to carve, transport, and raise the statues. Chiefs ordered them, priests blessed them, and the community worked together to honor their lineage. Every moai was a symbol of family pride, a testament that their ancestors would never be forgotten. Rapa Nui society was organized around these statues. Clans competed to build taller and more impressive moai, showing their strength and devotion. Yet this rivalry also encouraged innovation and mastery of stonework. Over time, techniques improved, and the statues grew larger and more detailed, each face carved with individuality. But beneath their achievements, the Rapa Nui carried a burden, the struggle to survive on an island with finite resources. Still, their creativity and determination allowed them to leave behind one of the world's most extraordinary legacies. The Rapa Nui were not just survivors of isolation, they were builders of eternity. The moai statues of Easter Island are among the most remarkable creations of the ancient world. Standing tall with solemn faces, heavy brows, and elongated noses, these stone giants have long stirred both awe and wonder. Nearly 900 statues were carved, each unique, yet all sharing the same sense of dignity and power. But how were they created? And more importantly, how were they moved? The story begins at Rano Raraku, a volcanic quarry that served as the birthplace of the moai. Here, the Rapa Nui carvers used simple tools made of harder stone to chip away at the volcanic tuff, a material soft enough to carve yet strong enough to endure centuries. In the quarry, many statues still lie unfinished, frozen in the middle of their creation, as if time itself stopped. The completed moai varied in size, from smaller figures to giants over 30 feet tall, weighing dozens of tons. Some were even larger, left partly carved in the rock, too massive to be freed. Each statue represented the face of an ancestor, carved with devotion and remarkable skill. Yet carving was only half the challenge. The true mystery was transportation. How did a small, isolated society move these colossal figures across rugged terrain without wheels, metal, or large animals? Several theories have been proposed. One suggests the statues were rolled on logs cut from the island's trees. Another proposes that they were dragged on sleds or platforms. But perhaps the most fascinating is the walking theory, that the statues were rocked upright using ropes step by step, like giants striding across the land. Experiments have shown this method is possible, requiring coordination, strength, and deep knowledge of balance. Once transported, the moai were raised onto stone platforms called ahu, where they stood facing inland, watching over the villages. Many were later crowned with red stone hats, or pukao, symbolizing status and sacred power. The creation and movement of the moai demonstrate not only the ingenuity of the Rapa Nui, but also their unbreakable unity. With nothing more than willpower, faith, and collaboration, they achieved what still leaves the modern world in awe. To understand the moai, we must first understand the Rapa Nui way of life. Their entire culture was deeply spiritual, rooted in traditions that bound community, land, and ancestors together. At the heart of their belief system was the concept of mana, a sacred power that flowed through chiefs, priests, and the moai statues themselves. Each moai was more than stone. It was a vessel of mana, capturing the spirit of an ancestor who continued to protect the living. Villages looked to these statues for blessings of fertility, prosperity, and safety. Rituals, chants, and offerings were performed to honor the ancestors, ensuring harmony between the people and the unseen world. Daily life on Rapa Nui was shaped by this spirituality. Families farmed small plots of land, cultivating sweet potatoes, taro, and bananas. To overcome poor soil and limited rainfall, they used clever methods: rock gardens that trapped moisture and reduced erosion. Fishing was also vital, with canoes venturing into the open sea to catch tuna and other fish. Chickens, carefully raised, provided food and played roles in ritual exchanges. The Rapa Nui people expressed themselves through music, dance, and storytelling. Oral traditions carried history, myths, and lessons across generations. Tattoos and body paint symbolized status, courage, and identity. Community gatherings were rich with performance and ritual, reinforcing unity. Religion also evolved over time. When resources dwindled, the Birdman cult rose to prominence. Each year, clans competed in a dangerous contest to retrieve the first sooty tern egg from a nearby islet. The winner gained mana for his clan, a dramatic shift from the earlier moai-centered worship. Homes were built from stone foundations with reed roofs, small but suited to the harsh winds of the Pacific. Life was simple, yet rich with meaning, guided by cycles of ritual and respect for ancestors. The Rapa Nui culture reveals a people who, despite isolation and scarcity, created a society where faith and survival were inseparable. Their world was fragile but filled with purpose, and every act of daily life echoed with spiritual significance. The story of Easter Island is not only about creativity and resilience, it is also about collapse. For centuries, the Rapa Nui thrived, building moai and sustaining their communities. But then something went terribly wrong. By the time Europeans arrived in the 18th century, many statues had been toppled, forests had disappeared, and the society had changed beyond recognition. Historians and scientists have long debated what caused the downfall of this once thriving culture. One leading theory points to deforestation. The Rapa Nui used trees for canoes, firewood, and possibly transporting statues. Over time, the island's forests vanished. Without trees, soil eroded, crops failed, and the people lost the resources needed to build or fish far into the ocean. This environmental collapse likely led to food shortages and conflict. Rival clans may have fought each other over land and dwindling resources. Evidence shows that during these struggles, many moai were deliberately pulled down, symbols of one clan's ancestors destroyed by their enemies. Some historians suggest overpopulation also played a role. Too many people living on too small an island strained the fragile ecosystem, leading to hunger and desperation. Later, contact with Europeans brought new disasters. Sailors introduced diseases the Rapa Nui had never encountered. Slave raids in the 19th century captured hundreds of islanders, devastating families and erasing cultural memory. Missionaries changed traditions, replacing ancient rituals with Christianity, further breaking the continuity of the old ways. There are also dark myths of cannibalism, though whether this was widespread fact or European exaggeration remains debated. What is certain is that by the 1800s, the Rapa Nui civilization had collapsed, and the moai building culture had ended. The fall of Easter Island is often told as a cautionary tale, a warning of what happens when humans exhaust their resources and allow division to tear apart society. Whether caused by nature, human choices, or a combination of both, the decline of the Rapa Nui remains one of history's most powerful lessons. The decline of the Rapa Nui civilization left Easter Island shrouded in silence, but the world would not forget it for long. In 1722, Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen recorded the first European account of the island. His writings sparked curiosity and confusion. How could such a remote and impoverished land produce such massive stone giants? Later, explorers like Captain James Cook added their own observations, further fueling the mystery. By the 19th century, however, the Rapa Nui people were suffering greatly. Diseases introduced by outsiders, slave raids from Peru, and missionary influence nearly erased their culture. Many ancient traditions were lost, and the population dwindled to just a few hundred. The once proud builders of the moai struggled to survive, while their statues stood silent and broken across the landscape. But in the 20th century, a new chapter began. Archaeologists arrived to study the moai, piecing together the secrets of how they were carved, transported, and raised. Restoration projects slowly began to re-erect toppled statues, giving them back their dignity. In 1995, UNESCO declared Rapa Nui National Park a World Heritage Site, ensuring global protection for the island's treasures. Today, tourism plays a major role in the island's survival. Visitors come from around the world to witness the mysterious statues, bringing both opportunities and challenges. The statues face erosion, climate change, and the pressure of modern development, but efforts continue to preserve them for future generations. Perhaps the most inspiring part of this story is the cultural revival of the Rapa Nui people themselves. Despite centuries of hardship, they are reclaiming their heritage, reviving dances, songs, and ceremonies, and teaching their language to the next generation. The moai now stand as more than relics of the past. They are symbols of resilience, endurance, and identity. They remind us that even in the face of collapse, cultures can rise again, and voices thought lost can be heard once more. In the end, Easter Island's legacy is not only one of mystery, but also of hope. The statues continue to watch over the land, silent yet powerful, guardians of a story that still speaks to the whole world.